Namashri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapahardine. Now we are continuing with Swamiji's work in New York in 1895. To have an idea of the impact of Swamiji's talk on the audience, of course, it depends upon the kind of audience, sattvic nature, all that thing depends. Now here is a eyewitness account of Laura Glenn, who is known in our order as Sister Debamata, who knew the early Swamis, who worked in, and also she was in India working with Ramakrishna, and also in Calcutta she had quite a few meetings with the Holy Mother. Now she writes, one day as I was walking up Madison Avenue, I saw in the window of the hall of the Universal Brotherhood a modest sign saying next Sunday at 3 p.m. Swami Vivekananda will speak here on what is Vedanta. Then he describes, he went there and already it was filled up, the hall. A sudden hush, a quiet step on the stairs, and Swami Vivekananda passed in stately erectness up the aisle to the platform. He began to speak, and memory and time, place, people all melted away. Nothing was left but a voice ringing through the void. It was as if a gate had swung open and I had passed out on a road leading to limitless attainment. The end of it was not visible, but the promise of what it would be shone through the thought and flashed through the personality of the one who gave it. He stood there, prophet of infinitude. So you see the impact, because Swamiji's personality is to flow according, you see, was talking and giving his ideas. And those who were susceptible, and Sister Devamata was such a Sattika lady. She had also, see, rare experiences of Sri Ramakrishna. The silence of an empty hall recalled me to myself, she continues. Everyone was gone except the Swami and two others standing near the platform. I learned later that they were Mr. and Mrs. Goodyear, ardent disciples of the Swami. Mr. Goodyear made the announcements at the meetings. So this is a reminiscence. Now, on March 16, Swamiji called on Miss Corbin and told her that he would not come to her classes anymore. Now, what is this Miss Corbin? Miss Corbin was a very wealthy lady, and she had a very majestic garden by the side of her drawing room, and she had big connections. That means Swamiji calls them the persons of long pockets. That means they are very rich people. The barons, the kings, you see, of the whole world used to be the guests. So Swamiji first accepted this, and then his sannyasin nature revolted against this. That means he thought that a spiritual movement cannot be propped up by a handful of rich people. It is not the wealth that creates a movement. It is the your intensity of spiritual thought, spiritual earnestness that makes the success. So Swamiji revolted against this. And Miss Farmer, about whom I have told you earlier, and Miss Thursby, in consultation with Madame Boole of this East Coast, had organized a series of lectures by many people who included Swami Vivekananda. That is, it is not a lecture simply for Swami Vivekananda, it is a series of lectures, and Swami Vivekananda was given slots in it. That was the idea, was Madame Boole, that means the Greenacre model. She saw it that there were lectures and there were classes, and and lectures and classes by many people that created a good vibration, Greenacre in 1894. So that idea want to be reproduced in New York. So Swamiji talked on Vedanta on February 18, on soul on February 23, and on God on March 7. 1st of March, in the meantime, Swamiji gave a talk in Unity Hall, Hartford, Connecticut, which is 100 miles about from New York. And Swamiji's subject was God and Soul. On 11th March, Swamiji was again in Connecticut, and the title given to the talk was Soul, God and Religion. But the principal theme in the talk, that means the title does not reflect quite the theme. The principal theme was the unity of the essential principles of religions. Because Swamiji was convinced that, like his guru, who used to say, Yato mat, tato pat, which means as many religious doctrines, so many paths to liberation. So he also held it that the universal understanding of the harmony of the ideals of religions, they are fundamental to man, and ideals concerning man's essential nature, his God, his ultimate goal, they composed man's religion. So there is, as Swami Vivekananda said during his lecture on Ramakrishna, I learned from him, Master, that there are many religions, but the religion is one. And he expresses what is that religion in that majestic formula in Raja Yoga. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, internal and external. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. So other things, he says, the books, the rituals, the forms, temples, etc., are but secondary details. So that is the religion. You may give it a name, this and that, etc., etc. Those are the differences are on the surface. But if you go to the deep of the religion, if you go to the lives of the mystics in the bosom of religions, then you will find that they are doing this. That means trying to assert the divinity lodged in their individuality. This is precisely they were doing. So he writes in a letter to Mrs. Boole, she writes that without a recognition, my master used to say that these names as Hindu, Christian, etc., stand as great bars to all brotherly feelings between man and man. We must try to break them down first. They have lost all their good powers and now only stand as baneful influences under whose black magic even the best of us behave like demons. Well, we'll have to work hard and must succeed. That is why I desire so much to have a center. Organization has its faults, no doubt, but without that, nothing can be done. That is it. That means he was convinced about more and more about this fundamental unity of religions. I have talked about the Harford speech, especially of 11th March, of which the title was Soul, God and Religion. As for God, he traced the evolution of man's concept of God from that of early tribal origins to that of monotheistic, extracosmic God, to that of God immanent in nature, and finally to the realization that man is God himself, that all that is real in me is he, and all that is real in him is I. So you see, in a way, the common ideas of Abrahamic religions, he puts it just above the ideas of the tribal religions. That means an extra cosmic God who created this universe. He puts it as a very low idea, you see. Higher than that is God immanent in nature. And finally, coming to the Advaitic principle. And even in regard of that, he first formulated it in towards the second half of 1894. Before that, we do not find Swamiji saying this. Even regarding this Vedanta, he was saying that Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, and Advaita, they are nothing but stages in the conception of God. So he would again repeat this in Madras in 1897. And when he was saying this, there was a Pandit who rose up and said that even Shankara did not say so. And Swamiji replied, that is because it was reserved for Vivekananda to preach this thing to the whole world. That means he was bold enough to say so. The end of all religions is the realizing of God in the soul. That is the one universal religion. If there is one universal truth in all religions, I place it here in realizing God. Ideas and methods may differ, but that is the central point. There is that beyond all books, beyond all creeds, beyond all the vanities of this world, and it is the realization of God within yourself. So you come to like Hallaj, you say the mystic Hallaj, who said Anal Haq. It is that. Then we come to another phase of Swamiji's life, when side by side with lecturing and organizing the nascent Vedantic Center in New York, Swamiji was also reading extensively and going to the libraries and reading books, and Swamiji used to read books very quickly to address many questions which were emerging as a result of new frontiers opened by the scientists of science was making formidable progress at that time. We are talking about the last decade of the 19th century. He wrote 3 articles, one on cosmos, another on individual soul, another on Atman. His assistant, we have mentioned him, he writes that Swamiji, he writes, I'm talking about Landsberg, Swamiji's assistant at that time. In a letter to Madame Boole, he's writing that Swamiji was now writing a very learned essay on reincarnation for the Metaphysical Journal. this is one thing. And also he wanted from Professor Wright of Harvard University to give him a list of books which deals with the ideas of the soul among the Greeks, popular ideas and philosophical ideas, among the Egyptians, among the Babylonians, say, and among the Jews. So he was making a thorough study of these thought processes to write these essays. And his essay on cosmos deals with the question of ether, which was prominent in those days. The ether theory has been discarded now. Swamiji quotes extensively from the researches of Professor Zollner, a German physicist. Though ether has been rejected, but we are 126 years from that event. That means Swamiji's time when he was doing all these things. Now, what happened, up to 1998, scientists were sure that the universe was expanding, but this expansion will slow down and ultimately this expansion will stop. That was the idea. But what happened? This Hubble Space Telescope in 1988 was focused on a supernova. So from that, they found out that universe was expanding long time past at a slow rate, and the rate of your expansion is accelerating actually. And this perturbed the community of scientists. Scientists did not know how to explain this thing. Where was the extra energy to produce this ever increasing acceleration of the expansion of the universe? So the expansion of the universe is not slowing up due to gravity, as everyone thought. Eventually, theorists came up with three sorts of explanations. Maybe it was a result of a long discarded version of Einstein's theory of gravity, one that contained what was called the cosmological constant. Another theory, maybe there was some strange kind of energy fluid that filled space. Third theory, maybe there is something wrong with Einstein's theory of gravity and a new theory could include some kind of field that creates this cosmic acceleration. Theorists still do not know what the correct explanation is, but they have given the solution a name. It is called dark energy. Now they know that dark energy exists, but they do not know what is nature. I asked our member, who is a great nuclear scientist, Professor Banerjee, I asked him that what are you doing now at this moment? He said that we are researching on dark matter. By researching on dark matter, we shall be able to find what dark energy is. This is one side of the thing. And then recently, on 21st of April, just 17 days back, you see, Nature has published that a dwarf galaxy, which they called LHC, it is circling around our home galaxy, which is the Milky Way galaxy. And that in 2 billion years, they will come together and they will collide and come together. So all these things have put a great commotion among the astronauts, the physicists, etc. Because you see, something is there in the universe and they do not know what it is. Harvard's Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, they find that dark matter is distributed smoothly throughout dwarf galaxies, contradicting scientists' expectation that the dark matter would be clustered at the center of these galaxies, like a peat in a peach. This finding suggests that scientists are missing something in their understanding of dark matter's mysteries. So, Swamiji was trying to, along with Vedanta, because Vedanta's one idea is to explain Jagat, this universe. Jagat, Jiva, the individual soul, and God, Ishvara. So he was pouring his whole heart into it. Now, apart from these things, Swamiji talked on reincarnation. You would remember his paper on Hinduism in read at the parliament. They are giving many arguments. Finally, he said that the greatest point in favor of reincarnation is this, that the yogis can churn out the memories of past lives. So this is the final proof of this. For example, Sri Ramakrishna himself said that Naren is a dhyana siddha. That means he is a past master of meditation through perfection in his earlier existences. He says in explaining this reincarnation, so far as explaining the tendencies of the present life by past conscious efforts goes, the reincarnationists of India and the latest school of evolutionists are at one. The only difference is that the Hindus, as spiritualists, explain it by the conscious efforts of individual souls, and the materialistic school of evolutionists by a hereditary physical transmission. The schools which hold to the theory of creation out of nothing are entirely out of court. It is thus that the doctrine of reincarnation assumes an infinite importance to our mind, for the fight between reincarnation and mere cellular transmissions is in reality the fight between spiritualism and materialism. If cellular transmission is the all-sufficient explanation, materialism is inevitable, and there is no necessity for the theory of a soul. If it is not a sufficient explanation, the theory of an individual soul bringing into this life the experiences of the past is as absolutely true. There is no escape from the alternative, reincarnation or materialism. Which shall we accept? To accept the theory of reincarnation did not, of course, mean to deny the hereditary transmission of certain tendencies. In his lecture in Brooklyn on December 30, Swamiji had explained this point. We cannot deny that bodies inherit certain tendencies, but those tendencies only mean the physical configuration through which a peculiar mind alone can act in a peculiar way. A soul with a certain tendency will take birth in a body which is the fittest instrument for the display of that tendency by the laws of affinity. It was for them a new thing, but now at least 25% of Americans believe in reincarnation because of many things, especially the Jatismara cases which are being studied in America also, as it has been studied in India. So nowadays in America also, they are finding that this is true. Now, on soul, he writes, because I say that he wrote papers on it. Now, the problem resolves into this dilemma. Either the whole universe is a mass of never ceasing change and nothing more, irrevocably bound by the law of causation, not one particle having a unity of itself, yet is curiously producing an delusion of the permanence and freedom. You see, that means, for example, the Buddhists normally believe that it is nothing but, quoting Buddha, something coming before is producing the present state. So that is the Buddhist point. Pratitya samutpad. Something is coming your before and then it is producing something. So this question of, or there is in us and in the universe something which is permanent and free, showing that the basal constitutional belief of the human mind that we are immortal and free is not a delusion. Any explanation that wants to overlook the fact of this persistent and all necessary idea of freedom commits the mistake of denying a portion of the fact in order to explain the rest and is therefore wrong. The only other alternative possible then is to acknowledge in harmony with our nature that there is something in us which is free and permanent. Even Buddha said so, though Buddhists, you see, often bypass that. In the Udano Sutta, there is a saying of Buddha saying that, oh, because if there is nothing which is not changeful, which is not produced by something else, then how can you attain nirvana? So he explains about the soul. It is not the body, it is not the mind, but it is beyond this momentary sheathing of gross matter, beyond even the final covering of the mind, is the Atman, the true self of man, the permanent, ever free. It is his freedom that is percolating through layers of thought and matter, and in spite of the colorings of name and form, is ever asserting its unshackled existence. It is his deathlessness, his bliss, his peace, his divinity that shines out and makes itself felt in spite of the thickest layers of ignorance. He is the real man, the fearless one, the deathless one, the free. This being, this Atman is the real self of man, the free, the unchangeable, is beyond all conditions, and as such, it has neither birth nor death. Now, you must imagine that Swamiji did not come to this conviction just because reading books and yes, that. So you remember that during his second visit to Dakshineshwar, he had a test of this thing. In his own words, he said that as he touched me, the whole universe around me began to be in a kind of whirlpool. And then it was smashed to fine pieces, to molecules, to atoms. And then he discovered that his ego is also being pounded. So he says that he had fright. And we know that he actually cried out, saying that, what are you doing to me? I have parents at home, thinking that Sri Ramakrishna by a black magic was trying to kill him. And Sri Ramakrishna immediately placed his hand again on the chest and saying that we need not be in a hurry. All these things will come in time. And it came in time, that means another 50 months later. So that is it. So he had this taste. So that's why he's not talking about this, but we know that the conviction is due to this. Now you come to another phase of Swamiji. He himself writes on 18th March to Madam Hell, dear mother, he says, tonight I am going to one of these. This will be the last of its kind. So much keeping up the night is not good for me. He is talking about this big feasts given. Every day from 11 to 1, I have classes in my rooms and I talk to them till they grow tired. The Brooklyn course ended yesterday. Another lecture I have there next Monday. Bean soup and rice or barley is now my general diet. I am faring well. Financially, I am making the ends meet and nothing more because I do not charge anything for the classes I have in my rooms. And the public lectures have to go through so many hands. I have a good many lectures planned ahead in New York and I hope to deliver by and by. Sister Isabel, etc., is talking about the family. He is talking also about the Gansi family. He says finally that this world is a great humbug concerning this meetings with people of long pockets. The world is a great humbug after all, mother. God alone is real. Everything else is a dream only. So, you see, this is the life, but this kind of life was putting a strain on Swamiji. That means tremendous occupation, reading, lecturing, and certain times also meeting people. So though Landsberg was there to cook the food, and Swamiji insisted that we should cook our own food. This was not understood properly by Landsberg. Landsberg thought Swamiji's mind had been invaded by a demon, because this kind of ordinary food can be got easily in any restaurant. And what is the use of using energy, using time for producing but Landsberg had not the emic ideas about yoga, etc., etc. In yoga, it is accepted that all things which are touched by us are, in a sense, contaminated by our mind. So if you are swatik, the things are good. So if in the restaurant you cannot expect that the people who prepare the food are of yogic nature or of sattvic nature. So the food, if you take, especially frequently in a restaurant, your mind will not become spiritual because of the influence of the food. The food may be tasty, the food may be healthy, but it will ruin your spirituality. Even when Swamiji attained the Nirvikalpa Samadhi at Kashipur, Sri Ramakrishna asked him to cook his own food for 7 days. This was one thing. And Landsberg has many, many qualities. He was of Jewish origin and had French and Russian roots. And he had education, also Western education, but by religion, he was of Russian Orthodoxy. He came in contact with Swamiji, was influenced by him. He gave a note to Brahmabadin, say, I am reading it. In the beginning, crowds of people flocked to his lectures, but they were not of the kind that a teacher of religion would be pleased to have for his auditors. They consisted partly of curiosity seekers who were more interested in the personality of the preacher than in what he had to preach, partly of the representatives of the cranky and fraudulent elements who thought they had found in the Swami a proper tool to forward their interests. Most, if not all, of this latter type tried to induce him to embrace their cause, first by promises of their support, then by threats of injuring him if he refused to ally himself with them. But they were grievously disappointed. So He was basically a fine man, but he had one difficulty. There are many people who are of mercurial nature, who are easily irritated and who are dictatorial. So many of the audiences, they were not happy about Landsberg. So Swamiji warned him from time to time that you have made enemy of such and such people. It so happened that in mid-April, it was the time of the Easter vacancies. Swamiji got a call from Mr. Leggett, who was known to the this MacLeod, Miss MacLeod, whom I have mentioned already. So he got a call from that. You pass a few days with us at our Ridgely Manor, which is a kind of place for entertainment, etc., of his friends. The Swamiji accepted it, and it seems that Landsberg went off hurriedly without informing anyone. Landsberg was very much hurt that Swami was absent. He thought that Swami has left New York without telling him, and in disgust, he himself left. You see, he wrote in a letter to Madame Bull that if I have tried to help Swami, but if the people who are coming to him are inconvenienced by my present, I would like to be absent from the scene so that the movement may grow. You see, like that. So he came, went away, Landsberg. Later, after 2 weeks, the group in New York came to know where Swamiji is, and Swamiji returned on 23rd April from there. There are two interesting events which took place at Ridgely Manor at this time. One was that one day with the son of Mr. Leggett, who was still a student, Hollister. So he was out for a walk in the big property. And Swamiji saw that a flag was there in the field, and he asked Hollister about it. Then Hollister explained that it is golf. You have to, there is a hole there, and you have to hit a ball. It should fall inside the goal. But he said that you are a novice, you do not know anything about it, so it will 4, 6, or 8 times you have to try to be able to. Swamiji said that have a vote. So they produced each of them some money, little money, the boy and Swamiji. But in the meantime, a legate appeared there. So he wanted to know what is the matter. So they explained. Legate told Swamiji, it is for a beginner, it is not possible at one go. Swamiji said, have a bet. So Legate said that $10 bet. So Swamiji immediately rolled up his sleeve and made the shot, and it hit the hole. So he was stunned, Mr. Legate. Now, Swamiji, is it due to your yoga? Swamiji says there is nothing, I say yoga for these little things. I do not apply yoga. So certainly it was his concentration, certainly it was that. So this is one thing. And another thing was that one day they were in a hall of gymnastics which was in this property. Mr. Legate and Swamiji was there. They were doing some acrobatics. And Miss MacLeod did not know that the room is occupied. He opened, he found Mr. Legate flying through the air, you see. And Swamiji, you see, turned upside down on his back, and his pantalon has fallen, you see. So Swamiji, in a moment, he woke up and straightened his clothes and shouted at MacLeod that, why do you come to this man's area and you're without knocking at the door, why have you? And then later on he said that, Joe, please come here and pick up your legate. So these are the things which are there, which shows that Swamiji was in the mood of recreation, and in ancient days when he was an adult, young adult or adolescent, he was a good athlete and used to do many types of acrobatics. So it was that was happening. Now let us end this chapter with saying that this Lensburg would come again to Swamiji when his feelings were soothed. He would receive sannyasa from him in Thousand Island Park, but he left him again. He could not, say, because of his nature was that, but he had many, one should not think that he had no good points. That's why Swamiji had always blessings for Landsberg. So we end it here and I invite questions.
Maharaj, I have one.
Yes?
You know, Swamiji said that there are many religions, but religion is one. Each soul is potentially divine, basically implying the Atman. And then finally, all that is real in me is thee, and all that is real in thee is me.
Yes.
Given this, what exactly would be the highest experience of a bhakta, of Kali or Krishna or Jesus?
There is an episode of Chaitanya Deva and Ramananda. Say when Chaitanya Deva was in South India, this Rai Ramananda was a great official of a kingdom, and he was managing a particular. You can say in modern terms like a governor. He was not a king, but he was at the same time a scholar and a sadhaka, spiritual aspirant. So Chaitanya asked him, what is the way? He said that according to your ashrama and varna, you should do the varna. There are 4 varnas and there are 4 ashramas. You should do your duties accordingly. So Chaitanya said that this is peripheral talk. Go a little deeper. This is just peripheral. So Chaitanya, this Ravananda said that you should have your bhakti. You should have bhakti and you should offer your work to God. Chaitanya again said that this is peripheral, go deep. So then step by step, say you should be this Sakya, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, this. That means the attitude of a servant, attitude of a friend, attitude of the parent of God. The God is your child. And finally, you see, at every step when he's making this, the same replies Chaitanya Dev. That is peripheral, go deeper. Then finally, he talks about Madhura Bhava. You are the beloved of God, and God is your husband. No matter whether you are man or woman, this is the attitude. This is called Madhura Bhava. Now Chaitanya Dev, at this point, he said it is good, but is there anything better than this? And then Ramananda first said that I do not know anything higher of this, but there is something which is called Prema Bilasa Bivarta. Chaitanya said, please explain. What do you mean by this? He said, replied that Na so Ramana na hama Ramani. You are not that you are the husband, I am the wife. It is not so. We two mingle together, you see. Then at that point Chaitanya rose and with his hand shut the mouth of Ramananda, indicating thereby that human and your language cannot express beyond this. This shows, this talk between Ramananda and Chaitanya Dev shows that the Bhakta also ultimately attains unity. As the Gita also says so, you see in the 18th chapter, Gita, Tato mang tattato gatva bhishate tadanantaram. He knows really what I am and then he enters into me. 18th chapter, Buddhya Vishuddhaya Yukta Dhittatmanam Niyanacha. These slokas, you see, terminate with this. Tato mang tattvato gatva bhishate tadanantaram.
Thank you, Swamiji. I think you have to leave Maharaj today at 4:45. Is that right?
Yes, 4:45, that is the maximum time. So let us, any other question now?
You say all religious is one, and say about Atman and Brahman. And can you tell me about demons? Who are demons in this cosmology, cosmos? Um, uh, my friend said about Ramakrishna and some saints, and also we have some negative things in these words, like diamonds. Exactly, uh, why in this cosmology we need diamonds? Uh,
You mean the demands?
Demons, yeah, excuse
Yes,
me, yeah, demons.
yes.
All of things is one, Brahman and Atman, and we are
You
true.
see, demands are, you see, they are less evolved, but why this is beyond human knowledge. You cannot understand it because this is Maya, and this Maya is as vast as we have just now said that you see about the scientific theory regarding the space cosmos, and scientists are saying that whatever we are seeing now in the whole universe, it is less than 5%. So this normal matter is really abnormal because much of the matter is not seen and known. So much of the energy is not known, but they know this is energy. So even physically, so you can imagine that the entity which is responsible for this production of this multiplicity is, you see, it is beyond the capacity of the human mind. But the human mind has the possibility to reach it, to see it. You can touch the mountain, you can touch the river, but you cannot comprehend its greatness. It is not possible. When you try to comprehend, you try to apply your mind, as in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, when you see, replying to Gargi, finally Yajnavalkya says that how can you comprehend this your Atman, because your comprehension is possible because of this Atman. Your comprehension is possible, that the mind is comprehending at all. It is possible because of Atman. That Atman, you see, as the child cannot attain the
Brahman.
marriage ceremony of the mother, because the child is the fruit of the marriage. The child cannot attend the marriage ceremony of the mother. It is something like that.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Okay. Now, I shall ask you, say, to take this picture of your this golf. Swamiji at one stroke is a beginner. He didn't know even golf, did it, and made legate and his child struck with wonder. So you let us contemplate upon this your great concentration.
Yes, Swamiji.
Okay, our next meditation should be on this experience of the Bhumata, that when you are absorbed in something, say everything, time, space, environment, everything vanishes, and you are, say, transported to another region. So all who have meditated deeply have some sort of idea about it. So let us have this.